So the Europeans that year, you won, and coming through the field.
Fast. Yeah, the European, probably then. We knew we were fast running into it, so we got put into our crew. We did a hell of a lot of seat racing that year. We raced a lot of fours. So we knew, even when we raced the fours in seat racing, we knew how fast they were, and they were all absolutely zooming. You know, whatever combination we put in to race seat races, which were absolutely depleted, were banging under world record pace. We were going pretty fast. So we knew we had a strong collection of sweep rowers, and we went away on a camp. Went to Beijing in Germany in the April, running into the Europeans, and yeah, we just formed our crew. It was the 8 that raced in Rio in the end, and we really enjoyed it. We really enjoyed our rowing. The combination, you hear a lot, just like did click, and it was an amazing combination of women and our coaches, and we managed to get this 8 moving really fast, and it was repeatable, it was consistent, and it happened every time. And that then leads to enjoyment. You know, you can't just say enjoy it and they'll go fast. We had the speed, and we had the class of athlete and the caliber of athlete to make it fast, and then we enjoyed ourselves and almost freed ourselves up. Went to Brandenburg and won in the most horrific crosswind I've ever raced.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
We rode steady for the first K, and the Dutch had gone out, so we had to kind of chase them down. So we won, became European champions. So I think that was probably a big win for us.
Is that when you developed this Sassy nickname for the crew?
Yeah, so this is something I talk about quite a bit, that we had, and it's down. I think it's down to our cox, Zoe de Toledo, was incredible at creating a kind of positive, fun vibe all the time. And don't get me wrong, she's an incredibly accomplished cox, but she was very good at keeping us all together. And I don't think, not all of the crew loved it, because some people were like, oh gosh, shut up. But we went out rowing, and we had a fun year. I look back on it, we had a fun year with the men's eights. We tried to carry them with the men's eight all the time. Like, they'd row overtake us. And we had this thing that you do in rowing. When you row past someone and you beat them by a bow ball, everyone would shout, bow ball! When they row past you. And they do it all the time. And obviously they'd overtake us, so we'd always just shout. We'd just have this banter with them. They were boating and we were boating, and they rowed past. Fran was from the other day. They rowed past and they were doing something, and they shouted at us, saying, "You go fast if you weren't doing just your arms." And then Francis is a very wise, softly spoken, sage member of our crew who wasn't into all this chat. Shouted back at the men's eight, and we were like, "Oh!" So I think then somebody said, "Oh, Sassy Fran." So we held on to that and called ourselves Sassy. And I don't think it was and then people got annoyed with us, so we just said we were sassy, and then we almost rode with that kind of idea of being sassy, that caring about what anybody else thinks, but we're going to do our own thing and do it in our own way. And we branded ourselves, and it was just a bit of fun, but it probably helped create a team bond and a team identity, and we used it quite a lot, even in jokes. Most of the time it's just, rowers, aren't we? We just have banter between ourselves all the time. The men's hated it. We made them T-shirts and sent them to them. Unprintable picture of them all sticking their fingers up at us. Their sassy T-shirts on. So we just had really good fun with it, and it helped us get through what can be a really heavy and serious time.
That year, you had seat racing trials with Kath, Grainger and Vicky Thornley, which was after the Europeans, which I guess could have been pretty disruptive.
Yeah, so we've been seat raced to the bitter end that year, and I can't speak for them two because I wasn't in their boat, and they went on to win an Olympic silver, amazing medal. So they were two exceptional women, but they were looking at prospects and looking at medals, and it was decided they would trial for the 8 to see if they could strengthen the 8, which is hard. Personally, I was kind of all for it. I want to win an Olympic medal, and I wanted to make the fastest crew, and I was kind of confident I knew what I was doing. So I'm quite black and white person, so I went quite black and white with it, and we're like, well, okay, come, let's do a seat race, and we did a seat race, but it was incredibly hard. It was a really stressful time, and we're teammates with them, and there's no bones about it. They're trying to get into our crew, and they're teammates and friends with me, and it's hard. It's a really, really hard time. It was a tense time, and it was tough. We had to seat race.
Yeah. Adrian Cassidy's asked a question before we talk about 2016 and your medal there. Cass has asked about your motivation for winning a medal. Does it come from within, or does this idea of, you know, winning a medal in the team, being part of the team's success, being famous, how much does that matter?
Yeah, I guess I just said that you want to be good enough to walk around Caversham being an Olympic medalist, but I mean, we're not famous as rowers. No one knows who we are. I don't think if anyone does it in rowing for fame, I'd probably tell them to pack it in and go and take up tennis. But yeah, it's internal. I'd like to look good as a rower, I guess, part of me, but no one really knows who we are or knows what we do. It's to do that, and you all know, Adrian knows that you're taking so many strokes in a session, in a day, per week. That has to come from within. It's kind of the reason why I didn't carry on for Tokyo. You've got to really, really want it. It has to be a burning desire within to succeed and go and do it. Because I think if you do it half-heartedly, you're not gonna do justice to yourself. And that moment in a race where it's absolutely kicking in, you might start to question it. And you've got to want it internally so much to do it, I think. So
in Rio now, we're at the Olympics in 2016. Must be a real buzz around the crew. What was your target going into the games? What did you hope to come out with?
We want to win it. And I think the difference between London, it's funny you said that about Lindsay, but we want to win. And it's interesting talking to Frances, because Fran has written a book now, and she said that she wanted to make sure we put a race together that was the best race we could do. And if that was coming sixth, that she's happier with that than anything else. And I guess that's similar. We all promised each other. We didn't sit around in a circle holding hands. We all said what we want to do, and we want to win. And our race in Lucerne, the Americans only just beat us, and it gave us a real sense of, hold on a second, we could do this. We could win it. And we went to win the race and put together the best race we could do. It turned out the Americans were faster than us, I think, and that's how I live with it now. I don't think we lost a gold medal. I think we won a silver medal.
Yeah.
The Americans were faster than us. They outshone us, and there was a point in the race where we felt we were coming back to them, and Fran talks about it as well, saying like, "Oh, this is on," and then they pulled away. And unless you're Matt Princeton and the Athens men's four that got pulled away, then pulled back, and then pulled back to, I don't know how they did that, but we pulled back to them, they pulled away. You've got 40 seconds of a race to go. Physically, it's almost near impossible to get that speed up again to beat them unless they caught a crab. So they were faster than us.
How nervous were you for that race?
Yeah, pretty nervous.
How did you deal with it then?
You were always nervous. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. I remember putting our boat on the water for our heat and thinking, oh God, it could be anywhere but here. It's horrible. How do we deal with it? I think just trusting in the process of what we'd done. And we were fast. We were really fast. This wasn't 2012 anymore. We weren't bottom of that list. We were top of that list. You know, we were knocking off Heather and Helen quite a few at the time. So we were fast, and we were confident in what we could do. And it was just that case of, everyone tells you this in the games, just take the games out of the picture and just get your boat from A to B as fast as you possibly can, and just do one stroke at a time and work on that and do that. And I think on the race course that helped. Off the race course, having people around me. I like people around me. I had my mates in the men's team. I'd go and bother Mo, or I'd go and see Sam, or we'd hang out together, or we'd just have a bit of fun around it. So I was sharing with Zoe Toledo, and we got really into table tennis. So we just had kind of kept that fun vibe, and we made a promise to ourselves that we keep on enjoying it and that's where that sassy thing comes in. Keep being sassy, whatever that meant to you. Don't suddenly go to the games and be something different. games and repeat what you've done in training, and it'll be all right.
So you took a while after Rio to decide whether you'd sort of carry on or not. You didn't announce your retirement till 2018. I mean, I know because I've talked to you that you know, there was a little bit of you still thinking about going back into the team at some stage.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say again, I love our sport, and I'm very lucky that we're funded by the National Lottery to do it, and I think I arrived at the perfect time to do it. And it's always a burning thing, isn't it? And I think it's talking to retired people, they're like, "Oh, you're a long time retired," and I was 27 in London. I was 31 after Rio, so physically I could have done it. I was, you know, my peak. I was doing everything at my peak. I wasn't on the way down, certainly. But I think I was very aware of how I felt after the previous 2 games, and I want to make sure I went and I didn't get too late in my life to, you know, have a career and go and do something different. So I went off and I'd applied for it already. I did a master's at the Royal College of Art. So I did a full-time 2-year master's. And I was going to take those 2 years to have a look at, see what I want to do. And it kept on being there, like Tokyo. And I kept fairly fit, but I think that burning desire had been fulfilled. And I hadn't won. I'd not got a gold medal, but standing on that podium, there was nothing more we could have done. And I think that satisfaction in myself and knowing that I did everything I could possibly do, and then it came together with that group of people, was more powerful than me keep on searching for something. And I think not the fear of failure, but the threat of just going and getting a tracksuit wasn't what I wanted to do. And yeah, we could have gone and tried to win a gold medal, but I think I'd seen how hard it was to get to where we got to, and I think I've got enough tracksuits.
Yeah, you certainly have got enough tracksuits. So was the transition from sport? I mean, you're still, I guess, in the transition from being in the team to sport. You're in a bit of a process. I was talking to Alex Partridge last week, and you know, he had his issues with the transition. Is that anything that you could relate to, or has it been fairly seamless and smooth for you?
I think what helps is that I was really happy and satisfied and bowed out on my terms. I think that's so powerful for my mental health and how I am now. And I had this other thing that's really hard. I went into education and learning, and I went to try and get a job in a really, I work in the arts now. I'm a curator at the V&A Museum, which is a complete difference from sailing a rowboat. And that was another big challenge. Like, right, I want to get to the V&A and I want to be a curator there, which is kind of ridiculous thing to decide to go and do. And there's not many jobs in it. So I think having this another really hard task ahead of me really helped me. Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. And I think I find out that I need to do exercise and I need to do some training, and I like to go rowing, or I've got an ergo, I like to erg, I like to run. And I think doing something active in my day helps me. And I think just being okay with myself and letting go of the athlete that I once was is going to be an ongoing process, because I mean, I'm only 4 years out, and I think it's going to be a gradual, like, farewell Jess the rower. But I think our sport's amazing, and I'm always going to stay in it. And I'm actually doing erg champs. I don't know why, in 2 days' time. So I'm doing my age category erg champs. So
okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it's a bit sad because you can't pull the splits you used to pull. I sit on it now and I'm like, oh God, I used to do this at rate 24. So but just to test myself and do something that's a bit harder, you know. So I do I'll be in the sport forever. But yeah, I think it's a never ending process of letting go of something you were good at. And it's hard to reconcile and I tell people now in the museum, like, oh, what's it like now? I say, well, I was one of the best people in the world at my job, and I had to stop doing that. I had to just go, bye. And that's horrible. I imagine you told someone that in a different industry, you say you have to stop this industry now forever, and you're at the top of your game. And I think that's the feeling of what it's like. And even telling it to someone, they can't understand what that feels like.
Yeah.
But then it's such a privilege to be able to do a sport for a living for that amount of time. You're pulled between the two.
Yeah.
You've got to figure out being okay with the sudden drop from Everest, and then you've got to always be humble in the fact that we got to be a professional sports person. Yeah. I think it's that juggling of two different sides of the coin.
How much has it surprised you what's happened to British rowing in the years since you left, particularly Paul Thompson going off to China? That was a big surprise. And then, of course, Jürgen Grobler earlier this year, chief coach to the men and the women, in effect, not being given a contract or losing his job, whichever way you want to put it. How much has all that surprised you, and where do you think that's left the British women's rowing team or British rowing team?
Yeah, the Erging thing was quite a big shock. I mean, Erging taking over the women's team was one of the reasons why I thought, I think I could go back. I think I'd enjoy that. I'd always want to do his program and see what it was like, but that was a big shock. And Tomo leaving as well. I mean, Paul Thompson, I can mainly speak for Tomo because my entire career was under Tomo. He's a very hard man. He's a very very black and white man. In some respects, we're quite similar, and his program was really tough. But I took a lot of confidence from being in his program. Don't get me wrong. There's moments when I was down the floor and questioning him, and I'd always be the one saying, "Why am I not in this boat? Why am I doing that?" But his program produced a lot of medals, and I'm grateful for being in it and for having those medals and doing well under his program. So I think he's a big loss to the team, but he wanted to go on, and he was going on to do other things. And I think the Erging thing, similar. I think it's a real shame they lost him the year before Tokyo, and it's a shame for him, but it's a shame for the athletes. I think people don't think about the athletes thinking that they take a lot of confidence in their coach, and I think it's a big loss to them. And they have a lot of rebuilding with new coaches and figuring out how to get into their new boats with a different coach. I think both of them are huge losses, I think, in my eyes. But they, at some point, will have to rebuild that squad. And it's unfortunate the games got delayed a year because it might have just happened naturally,
Yeah. It's tough to see where the medals might come from in the women's squad. I know maybe Vicky Thornley in the single has possibly got the best chance, but it's so tough in the single sculls. But outside of that, there's a lot of work to be done for medals. Yeah,
and I think this is where I'm kind of really lucky to be in the team. I went to games where I didn't medal, but there's amazing people around me that did, and their experience really helped me. And it's hard now because Polly's gone back. Polly went back last season, and you've got Karen, and Zoe Lee's not in the team anymore. So there's only a couple of, and Vicky, there's a few medalists around. And in the men's side, there's hardly any. I think Mo's the only one that's there. So that's a lot of pressure on them as well.
Yeah.
I think then without having any coaches that got coached Olympic champions is also hard. I think I would find that hard, not knowing who was around me in charge. And it's really hard. But at some point, the ride's got to end. And I think the roller coaster, they'll get better. They know how to do it, and they've got an amazing program. But it's like a roller coaster. No team can ever stay up there the entire time, can they? Yeah. Have you ever seen it? Can you ever see? Yeah. I mean, you've got people that come and go, but you never have a team that consistently at top of the medal table in the rowing. You can't. It's impossible to hold on to, I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. And it's been great, Zoe. I know you've got to go back to work soon. You're on your lunch break. But if people want to actually go rowing with you or go erging with you on Zoom, that's something they can do. Do you want to talk about that briefly?
Yeah, so Zoom Ergos was set up during this second lockdown to try and just bring the rowing community together. It's been kind of devastating for lots of clubs and rowers that can't go rowing during this time. So they were just set up to see if anyone was around, do they mind sticking the camera on themselves and telling a group of people what they're doing? And I heard quite a lot. So I said, yeah, happy to. And it's kind of grown. I think a lot of those oldies have gone like, oh, I want to do an ergo. So
names there, like who's been saying they want to get involved?
So Alex Gregory kind of jumped on board. He did it. Mark Hunter came along. I did text from Gillian Lindsay last week, and then she did one. Soph Hoskins just started doing them. was chatting to Tom Ransley the other day from the men's 8, and he was like, "Oh, I'll do one. Yeah, I'll do one." So everyone's our community of rowing is really strong. I think it's an amazing reflection of that. And you know, you got Matt Pinsent sitting at home in his ergo, inviting the world into his kitchen. So it's a really positive thing. And so you just kind of join in. You have a look on zoomergos.com. You see if anyone's doing a session you want to join in for. And the good thing is you don't have to join in for all of it. You don't have to tell us your splits. I don't really care. I'm just telling you what's happening in my head and on my ergo. You can turn me off at any time. So it's a really fun way of bringing the rowing community together. And I think we'll try and carry it on during the lockdown, now we're out of lockdown, sorry, to see if anybody wants to join in again. I'm putting my warm-up to Erg Champs on Saturday morning, 8 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, exciting. I mean, me sitting in the ergo for half an hour just warming up. So it's just giving an avenue for people to come and join in. Yeah. That's
lovely. Have you got a little target for those Erg Champs in your head?
Don't make me sit in my head, yeah. I was texting Mo last night because he was telling me off because he can pull a ridiculous ergo. And he told me to go for like 10 seconds faster than what I was going for. I've done the erging and I can't drop. I'm not going to drop like 2 splits of what I'm doing. No, you'll surprise yourself. I was like, it's not going to happen. So yeah, we'll see. It's going to be around the 7-minute mark. If I can dip under 7 minutes, I feel like I'll be doing all right. Oh, we'll see.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we wish you the best. Jess, you've been an absolute star, a bundle of energy to talk to. There's loads of stuff we haven't talked about, which, you know, I've got a kind of list down here of things that I wanted to ask you. So maybe we'll have another episode.
Get me in again. Sorry, I've got to go back to 18th century silver and snuff boxes. You know, I've got a busy afternoon.
Busy afternoon. So we'll end the live broadcast there. Very many thanks, Jess. You've been an absolute star.
Thanks, Crossy. Happy to join in. I love them. I think they're really great. I've watched a few of them, so they're really cool.
Thank you.
Like the international, doing across the board of international people. It's really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. It's
You're
great to have that.
You're the one with a good phone book now, not Mark. Aren't you? Yeah.
Have a good afternoon, Jess.
I'll get back to work. I'll get on it. See you later.